Hello everyone, Shinto Bean here, and in this video I'll be taking a look at the balance changes that are occurring here at the beginning of the new season. They were released in the developer blog a few days ago, and I'll be looking at the cards in-game alongside the stat changes in the blog. Looks like this will be the biggest balance pass to occur before they do the update with the new Omni levels and the dual traits and all that, which are coming to the game pretty soon. But there's quite a few cards that got adjusted here, 30 cards getting buffed and 30 cards getting nerfed. So let's get right into it, starting with the Eldari. The Wraithseer, which is an expensive but very powerful card, is getting increased by 2 points. We'll see a number of these cards that are actually getting nerfed are the more expensive ones. The Fire Prism is another one for the Eldari, going up 4 points. We got the Phoenix Lord of the Striking Scorpions. I've never used this guy, I don't think he's very good, but he is actually getting a pretty major buff. 30 more wounds, plus 5 range, plus 5 melee, and going down 2 points. Then we got Janezar, who was already a decent card with Fear, but one that I didn't really use that much, going up significantly by 35 wounds, 5 range, and 5 melee. So quite a bit stronger this season. The Drukhari Grotesque also got a significant increase to its health, plus 30 wounds, and just a little bit more ranged and melee attack. Drazhar also got a pretty good buff here, 25 more health and plus 10 melee. And the new Shroud Runner, which was a pretty OP card, I think, is rightfully getting increased by 4 points. This is an interesting one. The Harlequin Death Jester, which used to have target acquired, is now getting Fear, and it also got an increase to its stats as well, plus 20 health and plus 10 ranged. The Drukhari Succubus also got a pretty good boost to its stats as well, plus 20 health and plus 10 melee. And this is another pretty big one. It's pretty much a mandatory card in the Avatar of Cain deck, but the Howling Banshee Exarch is getting a plus 5 health and plus 10 melee. Moving on to the Necrons, again it is some of the most expensive cards that are getting nerfed here. The Tombstalker is going down by 40 wounds and also getting its ranged and melee attacks reduced by a little bit. This thing has Fear, so it is extremely hard to kill, although when I tested out a few games it wasn't actually quite as overpowering as I was expecting it to be. The Command Barge, which is a relatively newer card, is going up in 4 points. This one did not seem to have very much health for its stats, so I'm not really sure if this really needed to get nerfed. We got the Canoptech Spider with Medicae. This one I don't really use because of its very low attack. It's getting just a slight boost to its ranged and melee attacks, and also 20 more health, making it pretty tanky for the cost. Got another tank here. This guy used to have very low attack, but got 20 more melee attack, which is pretty massive. So he actually hits pretty hard in addition to being a roadblock for enemies with the shields. And the other Lich Guard also got plus 20 health, as well as plus 5 melee, hitting quite hard for 12 points. Moving on to the Tau. The Razor Shark Strike Fighter got plus 30 health and plus 5 range. The Piranha, this one is one I like to use quite a bit. Got plus 30 health and plus 5 range as well. And the little Breacher, which I never actually use, got a slight nerf, just 1 more point and minus 2 melee attack. Bit of an odd choice there. And then the Firesight Marksman, this guy went down by another point, putting him down to 3 points and minus 5 health. This one I still don't use, even though it's been buffed quite a few times, although all those buffs are mainly just reducing its point cost and giving it more health. 4 Servants of the Emperor. Starting off with this Giant Knight here, which I don't actually own in my collection. This thing is getting a slight nerf, going up 2 points. This is the one with Regeneration. And just so you can see, those are the stats at max level. We got another Knight here with Barrage, and this one is also going up 3 points. And the Warglaive, this one is quite strong. I've been using it with Canoness Viridian recently, but it is also going up 5 points. We got this Inquisitor Lord here, who got a pretty good buff to his stats, plus 20 health, plus 4 psychic, plus 7 melee. I do see this guy used quite a bit with Greyfax and Psychic Heavy decks. We got the Alaris Custodian. This guy did have a pretty massive amount of health for his cost, but even so I did not really use him much. He got a pretty big nerf, minus 35 health. Then we got Lord Inquisitor Curia Draxus, who I have never really used either. She's getting pretty big buff to her stats. Again, 20 health and plus 6 to all attack stats. The Calidus Assassin, another big game hunter here, getting a slight increase to her health as well as plus 10 ranged and melee. Moving on to Space Marines, we've got the Warlord Grandmaster Voldus, who I've always thought had a pretty low amount of health for his cost. He is just getting a slight nerf, going up 2 points in cost. Then for the bodyguards, we've got the Blood Angels Librarian Dreadnought. This thing is getting a pretty severe nerf. Minus 30 health and minus 5 to its ranged and melee. It does remain a pretty powerful Psyker with Psionic Blast. And I do like using this guy with Grandmaster Voldus. The Redemptor Dreadnought, which actually got reduced quite a bit in its point cost in a previous balance pass, is now getting nerfed again and increased by 6 points up to 64. Got Lord Asterion Moloch. This guy I have not really used very much either. He is also pretty low on the health in terms of his cost, but he's getting nerfed even more. Minus 20 health, minus 8 range, minus 11 melee, but he is getting one ranged upgrade changed to a melee, so overall he does still deal a lot more melee damage than ranged. Tiberos the Red Wake, another card that I have never used. He is going up by 4 points, but because he's an epic, I guess he will be one that will get a secondary trait, although I don't have him, obviously, at a high enough level for him to reach that. It will be interesting to see what trait he does end up getting. This is a guy that I already use quite a bit, mainly because I just have him at such a high level, so I'm personally kind of happy to see him get a pretty big buff. He is quite good with Logan Grimnar, gotta say. Plus 10 health and plus 15 melee, so he hits very hard. We got the Apothecary here getting a slight increase to his health and ranged and melee attacks. I don't really use this guy mainly because he's just more expensive. Prefer the Tech Marine ever since they reskinned him, so he actually looks decent. And then the Cyberwolf, another nice companion to Logan Grimnar, getting plus 10 health and plus 10 melee attack. Thing is only 8 points, so it's a very good card in melee decks. Moving on to Chaos, the Great Unclean One is getting, I think, the first nerf ever, and it's a pretty big one. Minus 40 health and then minus 5 to both psychic and melee attacks. This is one card that I think with a secondary trait will be extremely deadly though, and it's actually one that I'm pretty close to max level. We got the Defiler. It's one I haven't really used too much, being a newer card. Big barrage attack, but it is getting just a slight nerf, plus 2 points up to 54. We got the Terminator Lord with Shields. Another decent card, but getting a 4-point nerf up to 31 points. Cards like these, I'm not really sure why they're getting nerfed, because like this guy, he's not going to get a secondary trait, so I'm not really sure what the reasoning was behind that. And we got Mistress Azala, another card I just never really used. She has Inspiring Presence, but very low attack type. She's getting slightly more ranged, and her Psychic attack just got completely taken off and replaced with a Psychic debuff, and then slightly more melee, so interesting choice there. For the Orcs, the big old Mecha Dread is going up by 4 points. The Bad Moon's Death Dread is also getting nerfed, minus 40 health, which is pretty massive, and then just minus 3 ranged and melee. The attack nerf is not too bad, and actually, this actually isn't too bad of a nerf though, because it has Death Blow, so it is going to be going off more often in battle. We got this tanky boy, the Big Mac Mega Armor, getting minus 30 health, minus 1 ranged and minus 2 melee. Don't really use him that much. Then we got Ed Zappa. He used to be the only Orc Psyker, but has been joined by other Psykers since. I thought he was already a pretty good card with Psionic Blast, but I guess they decided to buff him by quite a bit, plus 15 Psychic attack and 10 wounds. And then the Pain Boy, this is the the cheapest one of 3, I believe, in the Orc roster. He's going up by plus 20 melee attack, so he actually hits quite hard now. Also got the Storm Boy Knob, pretty big boost to his stats, plus 20 health and then plus 3 ranged and melee attack. Got the Mega Cannon, this also got a pretty good boost to its health and ranged. And then Makari, the Greatest Grot, going down 1 point and getting plus 10 health. And on to the Tyranids. The Tyranids sadly mainly just got hit quite a bit by the nerfs here, including several of the Warlords. The Swarmlord went up by a whopping 6 points up to 70. The Flying Hive Tyrant went up by just 2 points, up to 64. The Turfgon also went up 2 points to 52. The Exocrine went up 3 points, up to 52 points. The Maliceptor also went up 2 points, up to 50. And the Tyrannocyte got 50 wounds shaved off of its health. And this is a pretty important change. The Screamer Killer used to be it used to have a psychic attack, but it didn't have the Psyker keyword, so it couldn't pair it with things with Psychic Link, but now they just removed the Psychic attack altogether and made it into a ranged unit. So it still has the same stats, I believe, in terms of like damage output, but, well, actually, never mind. They slightly nerfed its melee attack. But yeah, it is now a ranged unit with Barrage. The melee Tyranid Warrior with Poison, this thing for the longest time had a very low amount of health for its cost, but now it did get a pretty good buff, plus 10 melee and plus 20 wounds. And the Magus with Poison got a plus 10 health as well as plus 10 psychic and melee attack. The Tyrant Guard got a pretty big buff, down 2 points and plus 25 health. Got the Magus with Psychic Link, this guy got plus 20 health and plus 10 psychic. The Sanctus got plus 10 to both of its attack types. The Biophagus got plus 7 to both attack types. And for some reason this Hybrid Metamorph, which I also never use, got nerfed, minus 10 health and minus 4 to its ranged, and minus 3 melee. While the Hybrid here with Big Game Hunter got just a 1 point increase. So overall, a lot of the bigger, expensive Tyranids got nerfed, just going up in points, but quite a few of the smaller, cheaper ones got a pretty good boost to their stats. And that is sort of the general trend for this balance update. So there you have it. Those are all of the changes from this month. Again, 60 cards in total got their stats changed. So, and because a lot of those points were adjusted, decks that you may have built that were just exactly 199 points may not be viable anymore. So you'll have to change up some of the deck compositions that you have from last season. Let me know what you think of these changes. There also was a pretty significant change to the Battle Pass, so I may cover that in the next video. But that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.